wait a minute, Bhante. Say we have free inquiry. We don't see a future life. We don't believe you. What is the Buddha going to do? Is he going to say, well, you've used free inquiry, you arrived at your conclusion. I've used my inquiry, I've arrived at my conclusion. No, the Buddha is going to say, you are wrong and I am right. In fact, there's another sutta, a little similar to the Kalama Sutta. Let me see if I can find it. It is Majjhima Nikaya Sutta number 60, Apanaka Sutta. Yeah, I'm just searching for it. Okay, here the Buddha comes to a Brahmin village named Sala. And then the people of Sala hear that the ascetic Gotama has come. And then in the same way, they come to visit the Buddha. Some pay homage to him. Some exchange greetings with him, and so forth. Some just announce their names and clans and sit down, and some just sit down silently, just like the beginning of the Kalama Sutta. Okay, and then the Buddha asks them, is there any teacher in whom you've acquired faith supported by reason? And these householders say, no, Bhante, there's no teacher in whom we've acquired a reasonable faith. Okay, so then the Buddha doesn't say, now you can just go on and reflect on your own, but he says, now I'm going to teach you an incontrovertible teaching. This is the Apanaka Dhamma. And when you accept and practice this incontrovertible, indisputable teaching, that will lead to your welfare and happiness for a long time. Then he continues, okay, there are some who teach there is no value in practicing giving, no fruit or result of good and bad deeds, no world beyond this present world, no beings who are reborn, and so forth. And there are other ascetics who teach that there is value in giving, that there are results and fruits of good and bad deeds. There is a world beyond this present world. There are beings who are reborn. Okay, so those are two positions that are directly opposed to each other. And now the Buddha says, he says, those ascetics who teach there is no value in the practice of generosity, no world beyond this present one, no fruits of good and bad deeds. Those who hold this view have wrong view, and since there is another world beyond the present, he says, since there is another world beyond the present one, those who hold the view there is no other world have wrong view. They have wrong intention in declaring there is no world beyond the present one. They're engaging in wrong speech. Whereas those who say that there is value in generosity and who say that, those who say that there is a world beyond the present one, they have right view, they have right intention. When they teach others there is a world beyond the present one, they have right speech. They hear the Buddha is not telling these householders, go off and reflect on your own, but he's saying, this is wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech. The other, that there is result of good and bad deeds, that's right view, that's right intention, that's right speech.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so I would like to remind our audience who are watching this on my Facebook page and also my YouTube channel. If you have any questions regarding today's topic, please feel free to comment or write on your comment box, and I will be monitoring it. And if I see any question for Bhante Bodhi or about this topic, and I will take your questions. So meantime, I see Venerable Shanta Sobana from Los Angeles. What's in your mind, Venerable Shanta Sobana?
Okay, thank you very much, Venerable Sirs, and with my heartiest respect to Most Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. And so, actually, when it comes to the truth, before we go into the one or the ultimate truth, in this conventional world, any human being that always appreciate the truth. Even the people who tell the lies still like to hear the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So the truth is the only thing that can quench our thirst inside our mind. That's where always everywhere people watch news, because everybody like to know what is happening. And so here in this Chanki Sutta and the Kalama Sutta, the most important thing is when it comes to the Chanki, before he saw a lot of people go, when the Buddha visited his village, he saw a lot of people keep going that way. And then he asked from his other people, and where these people go, and then told, oh, the Buddha is here. And then he was planning to go and visit the Buddha. And then their followers told, no, you should not go. Because you are a very respectable, well-known person, you should not go to visit the Buddha. And other thing is, as Venerable Sarnapala mentioned, Kalama, and he also, according to his question, we can see that he also went through many spiritual teachers, and he had a lot of the information. I think the most important part that we can get out of these two sutras, they both still, even though they know a lot of things, they went to the Buddha. That open mind and that flexibility and the willingness to know, still, even though they know something, still they had the will to go and have this conversation rather than holding with whatever they know. This is the problem that we have. Once we learn something, once we hear something, once we become familiar with even the guru or even with the monk, especially now it is happening, and because a lot of monks keep teaching through the Facebooks, and the people have a lot of very favorites monks, and whatever the monks say, rather than the sutra or rather than even the common sense, sometimes they used to believe that what monk told. And they kind of like, rather than having the opening mind, they get close with that whatever the information. I think these two sutras, as Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned, they are not kind of Buddha's followers. They came from outside. But still they had the intention to go and have the conversation with the Buddha. So with that, when it come to the Chanki Sutta, that the Kapatика, that he was a very young, 16 years, kind of like old, well-educated Brahman, and he asked from the Buddha, using this 5 qualities, that the faith, approval, and the oral tradition, reason, reflection, contemplation, acceptance of the view. So in the Pali, Saddha, Ruchi, Anusava, and Akara Parivitaka, and Ditti Nijja Nakkanti. So when we come to these informations, and even in the Kalam Sutta, that all that information we categorize to 3 things: tradition, pure reasoning, and personal authority. The important thing is, those are the very key factors. Still, we also get the information. And so then when it comes to that, why it is important for us? Because within this our lifetime, and if we are capable to understand what, it's going to become valuable for us. But still, when we come to the human world, the history, and we see the people still, even in the conventional world, people still become so biased to information, believing system, traditions, and they become debtor to that. They lose their inner wisdom or the freedom, and they just keep maintaining or following some believing system. As example, when it comes to the human history, 16th century in Germany, there were believing system about the witches, and the people, more than 1,000 people died because of just the people believed about it. And the government spent so much money to kill the witches, and a lot of people published books, and they had the kind of like propaganda to kill the witches. But finally they understood it was, there was not a kind of like that people. It's just a myth. Another thing is, recently the Iraq war. See how they manipulate the information and bring the information, and they destroy the entire country, believing that Saddam Hussein have some kind of nuclear weapons. And the former president Barack Obama, recently he apologized that they made a mistake. He publicly he apologized about it. And see that if the government just give the information and people believed it, and people go behind it and destroy the country, and a lot of people died. So how we know it's not going to happen tomorrow? Because we are the one who validating that information. So then when it comes to something as information, we all have the right to understand, and we all have the right to know is it truth or not. So especially nowadays, see that with this artificial intelligence and with these machines and technology, people create a lot of fake information. So then when it comes to us, how we know truth or not? So that's why everybody needs to have a personal responsibility regarding that what they know or what they believe or what they understand, and at the same time what they share with others. Because if it is the wrong information, it can make a harm to themselves and to the society. So when we come to this sutras, that there is a sutta in the Salayatana Sangyutta Nikaya, Salayatana Sangyutta, Attunuko Paryaya Sutta. So it's directly related to the Chanki Sutta. So the Buddha mentions Saddha, Ruchi, Anusati, Akara, Parivitaka, Ditti, Nijja, Nakkanti. So these all 5 things, especially this conversation happened with monks, not with the Brahmin. So in this conversation, Buddha asked from monks, is there anything else more than these 5 qualities or 5 reasons we can get into the truth? So in that moment, the monks mentioned, "Oh, Venerable Sir, you are the one who will know about it. Please explain to us." So in that Buddha mentioned like this: "Ida bhikkave bhikkhu chakkuna rupang diswa santangva ajjattang raga dosa mohang attime ajjatta raga dosa mohoti pajanati." So that means out of this all faith, approval, or oral tradition, reason and reflection, contemplation, acceptance of the views, rather than all this, or tradition, pure reasons, or personal authority, there is another way. This is the most important part, and when it comes to today, this is what most of the people neglected. So what is that? In this sutta, Attiniko Pariyaya Sutta, that is what Buddha mentioned. When we see something, when our perception arises, when we experience with our eye consciousness, if the greed arises, hatred arises, we are the one who know it is greed, hatred, or the delusion. So that knowing is the place that leads us to the truth. So with our eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, when the perception arises, and out of the perception, when the contacts arise, out of that contacts, when the consciousness arises, if that consciousness related with the greed, hatred, or the delusion, and that is where we can understand it, and that's going to be the truth. It doesn't matter whatever the faith or the tradition or the culture, whatever the book says, but if we are experiencing that experience and understanding will help us to get out of it. That is where the sati play the role. This is what called the sati. So when it come to the body, when it come to the dharma means very natural mechanism. So when it come to our body, when we go to sleep, the body temperature go down, and when we go daytime and exercise, our body temperature go higher. So we in this body, we have this self-correcting mechanism with our heart, lungs, liver, kidney, these all organs separately has this self-corrected mechanism. So the sati also have this self-correcting mechanism. Whatever the believing or whatever the following system we do, but if we have the sati or the awareness, that person capable to correct that whatever, if it is unprofitable, that person has ability to understand it is unprofitable. If something is profitable, even though that person never reached yet, if the person have the awareness, itself that person has the ability to understand, oh, this is harmful for me, but this is more profitable for me. So that is why the sati is the key place that help us to attain to the truth. So when it comes to the enlightenment factors, in the 7 enlightenment factors, Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, in that it explains that whatever our investigation or the observation or the examination, that is what takes us to the understanding or the liberation. So that is why it is very important, rather than just hearing, when we have the effort to have the experience it, when we have the effort, energy to experience that whatever the information we got, and that will help us to understand it. Another sutta regarding this, all 2 suttas, Majjhima Nikaya Kosambi Sutta. So in that discussion, what the monk say, just imagine there is a person that traveling in the middle of the desert, and maybe the person want to know about the water. just believing, oh, the water still in that direction or this direction, doesn't mean that person exactly know the water in that direction. But still, that person need to know about something, need to take a decision to go to one direction. So it's nothing wrong that what we believe or whatever our imagination or whatever we follow, but still we have to have the ability to go towards it. And even just imagine we go to the water, and according to this course, even though we go to the water, we saw the water, but still doesn't mean it quench our thirst. So we have to have ability to drink the water. So when we drink the water, that will help us to understand. And that is the real person who got the water. So like that more than any other time, now we have information around us, especially in the future, what the Elon Musk going to do. Elon Musk believing that the availability of the information will help to people to attain to more freedom. So he going to have some kind of method give all the information to anybody. But according to the Buddha's teaching that Elon Musk didn't understand, according to the person capacity, that whatever the information come to us, it always change according to our understanding. Because information going to become truth or not according to our point of view. From which point of view we see that information. So that's why what the Buddha mentioned here, if anybody want to go into truth, it's important to go into inward and have the clarity and become more clear with the mind and get out of the greed, hatred, and the delusion that whatever happening inside their own mind, rather than struggling with the outside world. So in that way, person have the ability to get into the truth. So this is what thank you so much.
You actually, thank you, Venerable Shanta Sobala. You emphasized a lot of points actually, how to arrive at the truth. And though, as the most Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi pointed out rightly, in different sutras, Buddha is giving different ways of reflecting the Dhamma and how it could help arrive at the truth. And as you emphasized, the sati is also very important in this regard. So I'm wondering, anyone else has any questions or any comments to make? And I know Venerable Bhikkhuni Sobana is also here. I'm wondering whether you have anything to share with us, Bhikkhuni Sobana.
Certainly, people need to, at the beginning at least, match up their own personal experience, what they're capable of, with the things that they read about in the suttas and what they hear from the teachers. Sometimes when the students have some like discovery that they believe they understand the truth, it might not be perfectly matching everything that's the full impact of the Dhamma, but I try to not discourage them, but instead to encourage them to continue reading, investigating, and trying to see what they can discover directly with their own experience, which is matching up, manifesting, and clarifying what they are able to understand by reading and listening to the Dhamma. I'm very conscious that the Buddha said, especially a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni who misunderstands the Dhamma and misrepresents the Dhamma is doing a very deep, unskillful, evil karma that will be very harmful to people and harmful to themselves. And so because of that, I try to be what's in the sutta and what I have realized through direct experience, or what I understand through rational reason and rationality. So if it's something that I have not personally realized, like say, I may not personally have the knowledge of the ability to see the past lives of beings reborn according to the karma. I understand and respect that this is something that was realized by the Buddha and by many skillful bhikkhus. And so I can represent this is what is given in the sutta without claiming. It would be a very evil thing if I tried to claim that this is what I realized directly from myself if I don't have that direct personal knowledge.
Yeah, thank you, Bhikkhuni Sobana, for sharing your thoughts. And I see Venerable Trudeau raising hand. Venerable Trudeau, what's in your mind? Do you have any questions for Bhante Bodhi, or do you have anything to share with us? What's in your mind?
I do. First and foremost, most respect and salutations to all of the most venerables present here today. I'm ecstatic to get on the plane next Saturday to visit your monastery, Venerable Sarnapala, and finally get to see Bhikkhu Bodhi after so many years of wanting to see him for so long. To the causes and conditions is just now right. I booked that ticket so fast that I lapsed in the days. Out of the 3 days he's there, I'm only able to catch him once. So that tells you how super junior monk I am. Lacking in mindfulness, I'm far from being an arahant. So thank you so much for choosing this sutta. It was quite long, and perhaps I looked quite analytical and trying to put everything all together to make my presentation here, giving only an hour to review this. But I see here how beautiful the language is. What comes to my mind is recently Venerable Jayasaro of the Thai forest tradition said, only arahants know what suffering is. That's a deep one. That's a really deep one to sit on. That's a really deep one to think about. Only arahants know what suffering is. My line nowadays, after 10 years as a monk, is it may be a controversial statement, but I'm starting to think also only arahants know how to give. Given the ever pervasive the depth of people's greed nowadays, and anger and ignorance nowadays, is some of the things that we see, both the mind and body. For example, back in the day, emergency medicine was just emergency medicine the way that it was, old school. And now we have the emergence of all these new drugs and fentanyl, and then we got the nasal spray to save people. Things have obviously evolved in such a way. People's minds have evolved in such a way. Their greed, anger, and delusion has evolved in such a way where I guess nowadays it's surprising to us that they're able to demonstrate the ability to understand the Dhamma. When I'm reading this and it talks about how things are, is it well pondered? Is it genuine? Is it factual and unmistaken? The Generation Zs and Alpha nowadays, they equate other people's opinion for information. They also equate other people's opinion for truth. That's very dangerous. Can't even get got to get past that. Additionally, the modern day monks that engages in Buddhist psychotherapy with lay people, we have to really be really careful, and we have to be like Sigmund Freud and be very skilled in tracing dependent origination with them in the present moment, to help them see suffering, and whether they see it clearly or not, like through breakups, through forgiveness, through anger, and to just trace the links of influence backwards, running back to their exes, 5 times. And the modern day teacher now has to ask them, so how well is this working out for you? 5 times. What patterns do you see in yourself? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired? The trying to, we have to like have a process of elimination, or a checklist here to really see if they're capable in this moment to understand and comprehend the teachings of the Buddha. So yeah, I just wanted to take that part right there. Pondered, are things genuine, factual, and unmistaken. It's alarming to me also that entertainment has led people so far away from sitting in meditation. Again, the modern day teacher now has to really break it down, elementary explanation for people about conditioning, causes and conditioning, but taking the conditioning part about how they drive every day in traffic, angry, reactive in traffic, and how that does a number on them in their minds. The fortification, the thickening of uh, um, the fortification and thickening of their anger and reactivity. And when sitting and meditating, um, these things come up, and they're so prone to leave to, fight or flight. They like to flight right away, not sit and analyze what needs to be analyzed in order to resolve the anger in the present moment. So the teachings on conditioning too also raises, of clinical concern and of concerns in the Buddhist psychotherapy arena, in regards to helping people inch closer to sitting and meditating. So I guess my question for Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi is, because this is such a really big, long discussion today, how do you view that, from Venerable Jayasaro when he says only arahants know what suffering is? When he made that statement publicly, only arahants know what suffering is. It's still sitting with me for a good minute. Thank you. I rejoice in your answer.
I'd say first, the meaning of dukkha, it's not really literally suffering. Suffering is just one aspect of it. So probably I would say that the sense is that only, though I'm not sure that it's really only arahats, but maybe only Arya Pugalas, his noble disciples, who've reached at least the first stage of realization from stream entry up, have direct access to the state which is completely beyond dukkha, which is nibbana, so they can have the direct experience, direct realization of nibbana. And so they directly realize that state which is completely beyond the dukkha of the 5 panchupadana khandha, of the 5 aggregates subject to clinging. And so it's only through reaching that, at least the first stage of realization, the stage of stream entry, that one gets access to that state which is completely beyond dukkha. And so it's from that perspective of nirvanic realization that one can then look back upon the 5 aggregates and see, indeed, as the Buddha said, Sankitena Panchupadana Kanda Dukkha, that truly these five aggregates subject to clinging are dukkha. Not in the sense that they're necessarily suffering, but that they are oppressed by arising and falling away, constant arising and falling away.
Thank you
Yes,
so
and
much.
that's the aspect of sankhara dukkha. Not dukkha is actual suffering, but sankhara dukkha is we call it the inherent unsatisfactory nature of all conditioned phenomena. So the stream enterers, but certainly the arahats, perhaps even the stream enterers, can experience that which is beyond the five aggregates, and therefore they know that the five aggregates are sankhara dukkha.
Yeah. So, Bante Bodhi, there is a question for you. This is from the Facebook Live. Venerable Bhikkhu Jnanavimala is asking this particular question from you. So, do you think the Kalama Sutta is bracketing human prejudices on truth?
Is what?
Do you think the Kalama Sutta is bracketing, bracketing,
Bracketing.
yeah, human prejudices on truth? Like human prejudice or enclosing.
I'm not quite sure that I get the sense of that question, but certainly you can say what the Kalama Sutta does.
Human prejudices on truth.
Yeah, that I heard what you said, but I'm not quite sure of the intention.
Okay.
But what the Kalama Sutta does in the early part, it enumerates, I think, these 10 unreliable sources of knowledge.
Yeah.
So you base on anusava, which is translated sometimes hearsay or oral tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really referring to the word anusava refers to the Brahminic system of learning by which they receive the knowledge of the Vedas through oral transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's parampara. Anyway, I don't have all of them at my
parampara.
here it is. Okay.
Yeah. Ma paramparaya, ma itikiraya, ma pitaka sampradanina.
Yeah, so I have, in my translation, do not go by oral tradition. So that's one unreliable source of knowledge, the lineage of teaching by hearsay. And then we have Pitaka Sampada, which is translated collection of scriptures. Well, we rely upon the Tripitaka, no? Look, this is in the Sutta Pitaka, this is in the Vinaya Pitaka, this is what's in the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Are we relying upon Pitaka Sampada? Okay. Anyway, so the way I think I understood, I take oral tradition, lineage, hearsay, collection of scriptures, that I group all together as being external authority. Then we have four different formulations of arriving at beliefs on the basis of different types of reasoning. And probably these would have had very precise meanings in the Indian philosophical culture of the Buddha's time. When we put it into English translation, sometimes difficult to distinguish them. So I had in my translation logical reasoning, inferential reasoning, reason cogitation, and acceptance of a view based upon reflecting on it. So there's four based on involving reason conclusions. And then the last two are derived from, call this personal charisma, personal authority. We have the seeming competence, and then I have in brackets of the speaker, or because you think that this ascetic or this monk is our guru, our master. Yeah, so we could say that these the 10 items enumerated here provide a list of unreliable sources of knowledge. So what comes down in these ways might be true, might be false, but in themselves, just because they come down through some kind of oral tradition, just because it's the teaching of an impressive guru, or just because it follows from our reasoning, it might be true, but maybe not true. We can't depend entirely upon that. But then the Buddha makes the important point. He says, when you know for yourselves. So there, what he's emphasizing is not, I would say that this is not free inquiry, but this is rather knowledge that comes from direct personal experience.
So, where about Shanta Sobana? What are you?
Thank you. Actually, when it comes to the Western philosophy, it's especially when it comes to epistemology, that it asks about how do we know what we know. So there are basically there are 5 ways: observation, experimentation, data analysis, objective measurements, and reproducibility. So I think still when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, all the Tripitaka give this all the 5 skills. So that's why we always mention in the Tripitaka, this is what the Buddha said. So another thing is when it go to the Trijau, there's a question about that the suffering. I think the suffering people knew about the karma and the suffering before the Buddha, but otherwise there is a logical argument come why the Prince Siddhartha came out of the palace, you know. So the only thing was, even though they knew suffering for a certain level, they didn't know how to get out of it. This is what the Buddha found out. So otherwise the suffering, that jati pidukkha, jara pidukkha, vyadhi pidukkha, maranam pidukkha, ye vipayogo dukkho, appye sampayogo dukkho, yampincang nalabati tampi dukkha, sankitena panchupadana kanda dukkha. And people were struggling to get out of this all and doing many things, but they didn't know how to exactly get out of this. So that's why I think that when somebody attained to the Arahanthood, that what's the point of understanding the dukkha? So the dukkha suffering itself lead to get into that liberation, or that culmination, or that the pinnacle point. So otherwise, if what they understand, what the moral, or what the what they motivate go towards the Arahanthood. No, so that's why the Buddha is the one who found out how to get out of the samsara. That's why when he come to the 5 ascetic, what he told, I found out how to get out of the death. I found out, that is what he told. I found out that the place where it's no death. So that means the people knew there's something, but they didn't find out. So that is what I want to mention.
Very good. Where about Trijau?
Thank you so much for having me again. I rejoice both of your answers. Thank you, Bhikkhu Bodhi. Yeah, I guess that was what was on my mind, was the suffering part of it, and by and through understanding suffering, let it penetrate sit with the uncomfortable birth, old age, disease, decay. It seems to me that everyone is in their palaces nowadays, behind the walls nowadays, like the prince once was. And in order to see suffering, will you have to step outside of your own wall, which is going out, volunteering, engaging in social work, just seeing homeless people, visiting mortuaries, visiting, cemeteries, and let that, every time when I see um, the cemeteries and the plaques of people's names, date they were born, date that they died, it hits you at impactful level of realizing your own mortality. And it's the same thing with Mara Nusati, how the clinical benefits of it is that it helps you realize that you're running out of time. The problem is we think we have time, and buying through direct self-inquiry and seeing one for oneself, see it with unshakable faith and confidence. After you have replicated these sites that the Buddha have seen, or try to replicate it as much as you possibly can, one arrives at that assertion to others, inspiring other people, and say, I know what suffering is, or I'm going to give it a shot and tell you what it is, what I think it is. And I have seen birth, I have seen old age, disease, decay, and hopefully you actually have the clinical evidence of that, by shadowing with doctors, shadowing with psychologists, and in the medical specialty, spending that necessary time to do your investigation, that leads to the quote wisdom that is needed in order to understand suttas like this. So yeah, I guess my contribution for today is exactly that. Try to replicate what the Buddha did in modern day times, as our society conditions us, to run away from the pain, to run away from the suffering. Thank you. I'd like to yield the floor back to all of you.
Thank you very much. Bante Sankicha from Detroit. What's in your mind?
Yes, Bhante, thank you very much. Just for Bhante Trudeau's question, actually, is concerned about the suffering to be known only by the perfectly enlightened one or the arahants. I think, in addition to medical bodies and other Bhante's contributions, I think that is directly, I think, to know the suffering as suffering is the critical important aspect to that, because suffering is not a suffering exactly for some people, how they take it, like how people consider that. Sometimes some might use as a motivation, even we see that how some people are even enjoying suffering, giving suffering to someone else, even suffering somebody, who is so alive sometimes, is a very complex perception, I think, as how people understand suffering. So the teachings, that is why it is mentioned even in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, as you know, suffering to be realized as a suffering and something to get freed of, to be free from. That idea is, I think, sometimes missing in different circumstances. So then, in case of the arahants who have completed this spiritual practice and who have arrived in the perfect knowledge, only they know what the suffering exactly is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And so, is there anything you would like to add, Bhante Bodhi, in so far what they have said? Any conclusion, words of conclusion?
Any concluding words of wisdom?
Yes.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that there's a sutta that occurred, is coming back to the same question that the Venerable Tao raised. There's a sutta that occurs both in the Sutta Nipata, it's in the Mahavagga, the last sutta, Vayatanupasana Sutta. And basically the same verses occur in the Samyutta Nikaya, Salayatana Samyutta, towards the end. I don't remember the number of the sutta, but the verse goes something like, that which the worldlings, the Putujana, view as sukha, as pleasant, that the noble ones view as dukkha, and that which the noble ones view as dukkha, that which the worldlings view as sukha, that the noble ones know as dukkha, and that which the worldlings view as dukkha, that the noble ones know as sukha.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much. Sadhu.
And there's a last minute question for Bhante Bodhi. There's a friend called Dharmika who is watching this program on YouTube, and he or she is asking this question: among bad things and good things, which will influence the minds of people quickly?
I don't know. There's probably no universal answer.
Okay. Okay. Among the bad things and good things, which will influence the minds of people quickly?
I have something for that.
Okay.
You have a martial art.
Okay.
Whatever you train most, come first.
Okay. So, okay. That's interesting. So is that true, Bhante Bodhi?
I didn't quite catch what he said.
Can you repeat that, Sarvashamma?
Whatever we train most, come first.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so we have come to the end of today's discussion, and I'm very, very grateful to all of you for sharing your insights and knowledge with us based on these two sutras, Kalama Sutta and the Chanki Sutta. And a very kind reminder to all friends, Dhamma friends who are in Toronto, don't miss this opportunity of listening to Bhikkhu Bodhi. He is going to deliver Dhamma talk in our meditation class on Wednesday. And then, of course, the meditation and Dhamma retreat on Saturday, that is already full. I wish we had a big venue, but we have limited to 150, so that's already full. But there will be an opportunity to listen to another public Dhamma talk on Sunday that will be delivered at the Mississauga Secondary School on Courtney Park, Mississauga. And I have posted the flyer. Please see the details. And I'm very excited for his visit to Toronto. And so it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn from this very, very wise monk. And I always say he's the walking library because translating the Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya into English, you had to basically read word by word, sentence by sentence, all the sutras. And so that helps you not only gain knowledge, but it sticks in your mind. So people are quite excited. So now to conclude our 90th the discussion, and I see Bhante Nanda. Bhante Nanda, are you here? He's gone. May I request you to recite the Oma the Fatima verses for us today, if you can? You have to unmute, Bhante.
Now you can see, right?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Just type here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much, Bandes. Sabba passa akaranang usalassa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang kanti paramang tapoti dikha nibbanang paramang vadanti buddha nahi pabbajito parupagati nasamanoti parang yetanto anupavado anupagato patimokkhe sangvaro mattanyutaca bhattasmin pantanca sayanasanang adhicitte ca ayogo etang buddhana sasanang.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante Nanda from Rhode Island in New York for reciting the Ova the Fatima verses today for us, and it was very beautiful. And I'm very grateful to all the venerable monks and nuns, especially the most venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi and Bhante Nanda, Bhante Santa Sobhana, Venerable Tridao, and Bhikkhuni Sobhana and Bhikkhuni Dhammajivi. Thank you all for joining the discussion and sharing your words of wisdom with everyone for their spiritual benefit. So this is such a good karma, kusala karma we have performed together. May this kusala karma bring you all good health and longevity. May Devas, celestial beings, continue to protect and guard all of you with the divine blessings for your health and safety. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitartha. May all sentient beings be well, happy and peaceful. With these loving thoughts in mind, I would like to conclude today's 90th biweekly Sutta discussion, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks' time. Until then, be well and stay well. Thank you for all the Canada. Bye-bye.
Okay, everything just got concluded. I have to meet with another student soon. I know that one of my former novices is watching, and yes, you can go back to the beginning. My YouTube, however, got stuck in the middle, but all the important stuff. So part 2 is actually all the important stuff moving forward on my YouTube. That's why in front of me, folks, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 laptops, and 2 phones live. All of these live. That's 6 devices going live. Whew. So I asked the right question and got a really good answer, and they were circling back around that right there. This is a very, very thick sutta. I mean, just look at how concentrated I was in the Kanki Sutta. So Mahima Nikaya 95. Canki space Sutta, Sutta, colon, with Kanki. Canki. I don't know how to pronounce that. It just sounds weird when I say it. So you can find that on access to insight.org. Okay, awesome. Okay. I think I'm gonna go deactivate and deal with my next assignment. Thank you all for being wonderful listeners. Hope you all learned a lot. You can go back to it at any time. You can reach out for me for clarifications or any questions you may have at the number one Vietnamese interpreter, at gmail.com. Take care, folks. Have a wonderful night.